Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, it's that time again. Hey, get your favorite beverage, your good cup of coffee. I have to have the hazelnut creamer, especially in the wintertime. And so, boy, I got to have that with my cup of coffee. I actually drown the hazelnut, into the coffee, so I don't even taste the coffee. So I'm just so polluted with it that gets me going, though, So get your favorite drink, whether it's water, your favorite beverage, kick back, enjoy, get fired up, get inspired, get some encouragement, get some what we would say hope. Hey, how you like that? Hope, so we can persevere through life. We're all struggling somewhat. So, hey, welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I am the Professor of Perseverance, Dr. James Purdue. Today, our guest, she's going to promise you, she's going to give you a way to give hope and inspiration to you. She has taken the worst pain that any parent can experience, and she's turned it into her passion and purpose to lead others to hope. We'll throw that hope out there, and for people to live for their loved ones and to go after their passion and keep living strong. All right, welcome to the show. Our guest today, actually, her name is Hope.
It absolutely is. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for coming in and helping us out here. So, we're all struggling. We're going to have a bunch of great days, but we're going to get hit with those days that we're going, what the heck is going on here? And then we've got to learn to dig our way back out and have those great days again. So, Hope, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to this. Again, I don't know your story. Usually I know everybody's story before they come on, but you didn't provide that earlier, and I decided I'm not going to ask, and we'll go from there. So, Hope, again, thank you for being here. And if you want to go ahead and just kick it off and share with us, and we'll go from here.
Awesome. I love the element of surprise. So, about 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I received a knock at the door, and it was 6:30 in the morning. And I lived in a condo in Columbus, Ohio at the time. And I looked out the window and I saw two police officers standing there. And I thought, that's weird. But I had two grown sons. Brian was 31 and well, at the time he was 26. And then I had Justin, who was 19 at the time, and they were not living with me. They were living with one had started his family and was living on his own, and then my son Justin was living with friends. I had moved to Columbus for my job, so he didn't want to move with mom, and he wanted to stay in the hometown, and he moved back and forth with me when he needed money or food or maybe mom's help every now and then. But I thought, well, that was weird. But I knew, okay, Justin or somebody got in trouble and they couldn't figure out my name because, cell phones, we don't have phone numbers. We don't remember mom's phone number, but we know it on the phone. So I answered the door and the gentleman said, we have a note here and this gentleman's trying to get a hold of you. And I recognized it. It was the area code of my hometown. And I was like, well, do you know what it's about? And they said, no, ma'am, we don't know what's about. And I thought, oh, Justin has done it again. Because if anybody was going to get in trouble, it was Justin, right? And he was the youngest. He was the baby. And so I said, okay. And they didn't know what it was about. So I ended up thanking them, shutting the door, walked upstairs to my bedroom. And my husband said, what was that about? And I said, I don't know. I'm just going to call. So when I called, and the person on the other line said, Greene County Coroner. That's how he answered the phone. And I was blown away. First of all, I thought this isn't about my son or anybody that I know. They've got the wrong hope. They've got the wrong person. And I told him who I was. And I said that the police were there, and he said, "I regret to inform you that your son Justin was murdered last night at approximately 1:30 in the morning. We've been trying to get a hold of you. He is currently at the county morgue." And I was like, "No, sorry, wrong number." And I was like, "I don't know where you've gotten this or what kind of sick joke you're playing, but that's not happening. That's not my son. I just, he just tried calling me last night." And he said, "Ma'am," he said, "Justin and his roommate had gotten into a altercation, as young, adults do. They were arguing in verbal, I'm sure calling names, whatever. And it led to a physical altercation where punches were thrown, and they were, shoving and punching. And eventually, Justin apparently had the roommate up against a wall, and the roommate decided to pull a gun, which Justin did not have. Justin didn't have a gun or knife or weapon of any kind. They were fist fighting. And he pulled that gun out, put it to Justin's chest, shot, and killed him. And I don't know exactly what happened that night. I'll never know the exact truth. I'll never know if Justin sat there, while they tried to get their story straight. There was another roommate there. I don't know if Justin called out for me. I don't know. I do know he never tried calling me. I didn't know if things instantly happened. But I do know that 911 was called. They came, they tried to resuscitate Justin. They did not pronounce him till they reached the hospital. However, I don't know the exact circumstances. The police report is not very, helpful when it comes to the exact, but they did not pronounce him until he made it to the hospital, which was around 1:30 in the morning. And I had moved from my hometown to Columbus, like I said, for my job. So in order for them to reach me, Justin's phone apparently was, had died, and had a hard time reaching me, which I regret to this day. But once they pronounced him, then because of the investigation, they moved him to a different county's morgue. And that's when they finally reached out to me and got a hold of me. So when I was talking to the coroner, he was very apologetic that he had to do it by phone. But I sat there and I thought, how can I fix this as a mother? How can I fix this, right? How can I, Justin's not gone. He just needs me. He just needs me to go and fix this like I've always fixed everything. And my husband we were in shock. We were in denial. We were in, how do we get there? Because I lived about 2 hours away. And then I realized I had to call all my family. And how was I going to tell them this? And how I didn't even comprehend it. And so I tell everybody that day was sort of like a fog. It's sort of like a candle melting wax fog. Like, I don't really remember how I got home. I don't remember telling people. I mean, I remember telling people on the phone, but like people were, they were just as shocked as I was, calling his brother. And once I reached to my oldest son's house, the parents and the coroner did come and show up and provide me some more information, but really he didn't know. And that's how my journey of trauma dealing with my son began, was on November 17th, 2016.
Yes, and I agree with you. That's when a parent loses a child, whether murder, however, I don't have any children, but my mom, we lost our youngest, my youngest brother, her youngest son, and yeah, that's very traumatic and stuff, and same as you, she was trying to do the parental survival kit, get it out. I babied his cold. I brought him through the flu. I got him through when he cut himself, and stitches, and what can I do now to help him? And yes, I could see that from a parental. Yeah, he can't be dead. I got to be there to
Right,
help him. I got to help him
right,
get out of this. I got to help him get straight and help him heal.
Right. That's exactly what I felt. And it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming, and nothing, I had never lost anybody close to me before. So I didn't know what to expect. And just the amount of emotions and um kind of things that you go through those first few weeks and months. And I remember my work, bless their heart, they gave me counseling. And I walked into this counselor, and this was this young little blonde, cute little thing. And I was like, I don't know what she's going to teach
Yeah,
me. Uh,
barely lived her own life, and she's going to
right,
try to explain to me what I need to go through.
right, right. And so I told her, I was like, I lost my son, and we went through this emotional growth that is just amazing that she was able to provide me. But the craziest things was she said, I really suggest that you go to a grief group. And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, no, seriously, I think it's good for you, because I was a planner and I planned everything, and I went through and I was like, okay, what do I need to do to get through this? What's the steps I need to take, because I can't do this. And she said, okay, well, let's start journaling, and let's start, going through his things, and let's start doing this, and let's start doing that. And she was like, I really think a grief group would help. And so I was like, okay. And she's like, it's a Christian-based grief group. And I was like, you want me to go? I'm pissed off at God. I don't want to go to
Yeah,
a grief group about God. And
that's right.
God took
Yeah,
my son, right?
that's right. That's
It's
understandable. Yes.
right. I was like, I don't want to go into a church. And first of all, I'm not very educated when it comes to the church. We didn't grow up in the church. And we knew about God, and I probably went to church a handful of times, but I believed in God. But now I was like, this God took my son away, didn't intervene in that. And you want me to go into a group of people that are Christian based and tell them how I'm pissed off at God and I don't want to be there and I hate that he took my son. And she was like, well, I really think. And I was like, okay, okay, I'll trust your judgment.
Hey, now
And
to interrupt you here,
yeah,
I can understand perfectly about you going like, I know there's a God, but it's hard to believe in one that would let me suffer like this. You
yeah,
know, same thing with me growing up when I got my neck broke playing football. Was I wasn't a Christian then, but I grew up going to church and stuff, and I made a comment to other people. It's like I know there's a God, but it's hard to believe because why would he focus so much on my family? And here I'm only 19, but my
right,
father died when I was 16. My brother was burnt 50% of his body in a car wreck, and mom trying to raise up. Why does he focus so much? He putting tragedy on us. So it's like, yeah. So I understand perfectly when you say, I know there's a God, but how am I supposed to have faith or believe in him for him doing this to me? He took my
yeah.
son away. It was They say that he gives breath and he takes breath away. Why do you take this breath away? Yeah, I understand perfectly. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, ask away. No, I think that I really question God's motives. And like you said, I had dealt with, issues, nothing to the severity of what you've went through. And God bless you. It's amazing what's put into our lives and how it's emphasized throughout our lives, and we don't realize after what we go through. But I thought, we're good people. Like, we're not murderers and rapists and abusing and nasty people. We're good people. And Justin had his whole life. And even though, yeah, he made some mistakes, but who didn't? I've made mistakes. And it was very, very, very hard for me to walk into that church that night. And I thought, great, I got to go to a church where they're going to know I'm not Christian, like active, whatever that meant. And, they're going to, then I'm pissed. And so then I'm like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. And I remember a lady walking out to me and asked me, she said, are you Hope? And I said, yes. And but I was like, hands, I'm like, I don't know what you're going to teach me, but I'm here. And I need answers, right? I need answers of why.
Exactly. Yes. Why
Right.
does this happen? Yes.
Absolutely. So I was
Don't
like,
don't give me don't give me the biblical answer. You tell me, why did this happen? Yep.
right. Like, no, I don't want to hear any more crap. Like he's in a better place, or
Exactly.
only God chooses the best ones. I was tired of hearing that. Right. And
Yeah.
I was like, God chose my son, and I'm pretty mad. And I want to know, what in the world do I have to do to like, be with him? Like, what do I need to do? And she just looked at me and she said, God understands you're mad, and God would expect you to be mad. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? And I was like, I thought God was good all the time. Like, that's, remember how people say that
Yeah.
God is all the time.
Yeah.
God was not good right now. And she taught me a lot. And she taught me about, how, things happen. And she didn't provide me any answers, though. And I walked away saying, I'm supposed to just trust this process. I'm supposed to just, understand. And she said, just trust the process, believe in what you know of, and just learn about God, and maybe you'll understand. And I was like, whatever. So I kept going for 13 weeks, right? Even though my heart, I was like, I'm going to put half into this. And then it started to come around that, I didn't get any answers, but I did. Like, I figured that there's a purpose, that God has a purpose for me, and I don't know what that is at the time. And I was driving home one night from this grief share group, and I said, "What do you want from me? Like, I'm going here, I'm learning about you. I'm not." I'm not believing anything. Like, I'm supposed to trust you. I'm supposed to understand you, blah, blah, blah. And I heard the words, just as you and I are talking, the words, be kind. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Be kind. I'm kind. I'm nice. I give people compliments. I do nice things. And I can't describe it. I can't understand it. I don't know if it was out loud on the radio. I don't know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, I'm going to trust this process, right? I'm going to trust, be kind, whatever the heck that means. And I started volunteering. I started, paying compliments and listen and try to, I thought, well, maybe I need to write a book, or maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to tell my story. And I've always been positive and upbeat, and the sunshine and roses kind of person. And I had lost that. And I thought, I lost Justin. I can't lose myself. I can't lose hope, literally. And so I thought to myself, okay, what does be kind mean? What does it truly mean? And within those months, like right after that, the gentleman that shot and killed Justin, he was arrested for murder. He ended up going to jail, bonded out by his parents, and then his lawyer and him developed they said self-defense.
Yeah. Defense. Yes.
Yes. So they built a defense, and in that defense, they considered it self-defense. They said because Justin had him up against a wall, that he didn't have an exit, even though throughout the night he could have left.
Mm-hmm.
And the jury, or the grand jury, accepted that, even though Justin didn't have any weapons, and it never went to trial. He was found.
Wow.
He did not get indicted. He pled self-defense, and it never even went to trial. So imagine, as a mother, trying to be kind when all this was going on, right?
Yes.
So I thought to myself, is this what he meant? I got to be kind. What the heck does that mean? I am pissed now.
After no justice is coming.
Yes.
No justice
right.
for my Justin.
Yeah. Right. And so I thought, okay, so now you want me to be kind about all this too? And I was mad, and I was like, this isn't getting better, God. And I was not in a position to understand the way that, and so I started writing people, and I started, I wrote to the Attorney General of Ohio, and I was like, this can't be right. Justin didn't have any reason. He had no, like, he could have said, he could have done anything, walked away. But in that moment, something hit me where I was like, how can I be kind about this? And I thought, I got to forgive this guy. I got to forgive him. And I got to put all this anger and frustration and hatred into some positive type of energy, because I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall if I keep doing this. And I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to lose my other family. I'm going to lose what means the world to me, what I have left, if I get sucked into this revenge and hatred and horrible feeling that I wanted revenge and he should pay, and that's what I think be kind meant. Even though it was a struggle, it was such a struggle to say, how am I going to forgive this person for taking my son? And I thought, what a better way to honor my son than to forgive him and put all that energy, all that pain into something positive, into something that's going to leave my son legacy and my legacy to believe in positivity and joy after such a traumatic experience. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know. I was like, oh, maybe I could write a book, maybe I could podcast. But at the time, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a mountain. But I'm going to climb it, and I'm going to get to that top. And when I reach Justin again, we're going to look down, and he's going to say, hey, Mom, good job. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah, definitely. If you hang on to all that negativity, you're going to lose yourself, not just your other family, the rest of the family, other people closest to you, because they're going to be tired of the bitterness and everything. But you're going to lose your own self identity through it. And so I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad that now you talked earlier about you weren't quite the Christian going to church person, but here you learned to grow into this through this grief counseling, that you grew into trusting God and listening to him and going through.
Yeah, I'm still not very educated. And those, I actually took that grief group twice and I learned a lot from that. And that's, I put a lot of trust in God, and I put a lot of trust in what he wants me to do. I'm very uneducated when it comes to God still to this day. I'm learning. I love listening to people that can help me understand the ways of God in the Bible. Like, I am so uneducated when it comes to it, but I trust the process now, and I trust God, and I ask him, and I pray that he'll lead me in the right direction and give me the right words to say. Just like today, I said, give me the right words to say. And it's not that every day is roses and sunshine, but I feel like I have to give everything in me. And when COVID hit last June or March, and we all went virtual, even my work, I work full time at a financial institution. I thought, how can I help? What can I do? Is this where I need to be kind? Is this, and I've thought throughout the past 3 years up until last June that, I've always, I've tried to be kind and volunteer in just his name and donate in just his name and make blankets and just try to get the word out and try to be positive and uplifting and talk to people. But I didn't know exactly what to do, like what that entailed. And then June of last year, when COVID hit, or March, I'm sorry, and then everything went virtual, I thought to myself, that's it. I could go virtual with grief groups. Like, I could create a support group for people to do in their homes that would create some kind of positivity and hope and joy in a world right now where it's just death at our and on our TV daily, right? They're counting deaths daily. COVID is puts a whole nother level on grief, puts a whole nother level on sickness. You couldn't go to your hospitals to be with your loved ones. They were FaceTiming. I thought this has got to, I got to do something. And so in June of last year, with all the virtual, I thought, if I can Zoom, anybody can Zoom, right? And I thought,
That's right.
that's what I got to do. I got to get it, reach people no matter where they're at. And so June, Grief to Hope was born.
The founder of Grief to Hope, Grief to Hope is from hope, from actually not giving hope, but hope herself. And so, yeah, you'd mentioned earlier, a long time ago earlier, about how you're going to give this grief session a chance, give it a try, counseling and whatnot. But you didn't want to hear he's in a better place, no more suffering, all that. And I don't know if you heard this, but when my younger brother died, he died 2 weeks before his 38th birthday. And one person came to my mom during the service and said, God knew it was time to take him on because you're strong. Said my mom was strong. And she says, well, I'd rather be weak for him to be here. I mean, there's something, I understand the person meant to say that in a loving way and everything, but the message is not a good one, especially at the service. And so, yeah, I can understand. I didn't want to hear all this fluffy stuff. I want to know exactly what's going on here. So,
That's one of our things that we talk about in Grief to Hope, is the awkwardness that people say and how we have to be forgiving when their heart's in the right place. Like that lady, was her heart was in the right place. And time heals all wounds. I hate that saying, but
oh,
people say it
exactly.
all,
Yes.
but time doesn't heal anything. I mean, it makes things, a little more, depending on how, you look at it. And one of my sessions is called Gift of Time, but it's the awkwardness that people say because they don't understand what you're going through. And you have to be forgiving, and you have to learn. Like, I have people to this day that give me those puppy dog eyes, and they're like, how are you doing? And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm great, and I'm full of energy, and I'm positive, and I'm upbeat. And they're like, how can she be like that when her son passed away? And I tell people all the time that people that grieve are the strongest people in the world. They get up every single day, even though they would much rather stay in bed or sneak away or do whatever, but they got to still make lunches for their other kids. They got to go and do Christmas. They got to make Halloween. They got to do all these things. They got, if their spouse passes away, or if their, mother passes away, they still got to go on living. And there's courage and there's strength to do that is incredible. And so we as grievers also have to look at and feel almost like we get it. We understand you're awkward. We understand that you don't know the right words to say. And a lot of times the right words don't need to be said. The right words are just, I am here for you. Or, don't say I understand, because you may not understand, or you may, but just listen and ask us about our loved ones. That, to me, what I try to tell people when they come up and ask me how I'm doing, like, how are you doing? I'm like, good. Ask me about Justin. Ask me all the great things that I can tell you about Justin and how I remember him and how I can survive and how I can still have joy in my life. We just have to understand that. So as grievers, and I'm sure your mom knows this too, we have to get past that expectation of how people are and the awkwardness that they have.
Well, and you still got to live your life as best as possible, and go from there. And you're not going to get the best by holding on to that negative, that past. And
Mm-hmm.
not to say to forget about Justin. You still love him, got that heart for him, but he would want you to live life to the fullest as well, and you know that. And so,
Yeah, Justin is my, like, I live for him. Like, I get to say his name over and over again, with my Grief to Hope, and I get to live for him and honor him, and I make sure that he is in my heart every single day. He knows where I'm at and what I'm doing, and it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing.
I learned we'll say a long time ago that usually when you're offering to help someone, it doesn't have to be in a death situation, but they're grieving through something. And people would say, if you need anything, you just contact me. If anything doesn't apply, I mean, you hear what they said, but then when you call, they can't do it or they don't have time or what. So usually, what I try my best to say exactly what you just mentioned. If you need someone to talk to, I'll listen. I don't have
Yep.
to give any answers. I just need them to provide an ear to listen and let them get it off their chest. And so I mean, me in a wheelchair, I can't say, if you need anything, give me a call. I need my yard mow. Uh, okay. I wasn't expecting that one. So, yep. So I'm like you. I just try to say, if you need to talk, I got an for you to listen. And if you need, we'll put both ears in. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the thing, we talk about help and everybody says that. If you need anything, let me know. When you're dealing with grief, you don't even know how you're going to brush your teeth, let alone, get dressed and know what you need at that time. And so one of the things in the program we talk about is how to receive help, how to ask for help, and find that trusted friend. Like, find that friend that you could say, you know what, if somebody could just pick up the kids after school or grab my groceries or take the dog to the vet, that would be incredible. And so when somebody comes up to you and says, how can I help? Is there anything I can do? You could say, um, whatever best friend has all the information of how you can help me. You're welcome to reach out to her. And if it works for you, great. That'd be awesome. And I'd be so appreciative of it. And you can take that pride out of the way. So there's ways to ask for help because you need it, especially right after it happens. And even years down the road when, special days come up and birthdays and anniversaries and those kind of things, just somebody to send a card can mean so much. So there's ways to go about it. Absolutely. But I agree with you. I'm not, I get their heart is there. Their heart is absolutely there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They just need to tame it just a little bit. But again, and I hear this is powerful. You mentioned this, and it would be a struggle, but I understand it. Um, and I had to do the same thing with the guy that hit me and broke my neck. You know, forgiving someone that has caused so much damage in your life and other people's life, taking your son's life, and you're forgiving him, man, that is so powerful. And here's a question: that person know you forgiving them all is good, or this is just you doing it and he's wondering if you do or not? I don't know. I've never met the guy that hit me, but I have forgiven him in my heart, and I hope he has the best life possible. But I've never seen him since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it takes so much strength to do it, right?
Oh yeah.
All you want to do is like curse their name. And when it first happened, Justin had so many friends and they told me so many stories. And I think they truly believed all of them. And, when they told me that, they were trying to help my heart in healing. And I don't know what happened that night. I'll never know what happened that night. I've never stood foot in that house. I have never went back. I've never even gone to that side of town. Um, I have never spoke to this man, but I hope. Um, I mean, he has to deal with this the rest of his life, just as I do with mine, right?
Yes.
He just has to deal with it in a different way, and I don't know what that way is. I don't know if he believes in God, if he believes. I don't know. And his parents have to live with this for the rest of their life, speaking as a parent. And I learned that being a parent is unconditional. And those parents have to love their kids unconditionally, if it, in my eyes. And so I had to forgive him just as um, any person that knows that he has to answer to God. In the end, I feel like it's not my decision. It's not my choice to how his life's going to be lived, how he's going to go down a certain path. I don't know what that path is, and I hope to goodness, it's a path where he can learn to maybe forgive himself. I don't know, but for my heart, I had to forgive him in a way that I knew was best for me and my family. And, probably most of my family I won't understand that. Probably most of my family is still pissed. Um, his older brother, I don't know, if he's forgiven him. I don't know, because that's sort of, it's something you have to do on your own, and it's something that you have to feel. And I would never push my oldest son to feel any way just because I feel it. And so, no, I've never told him. He's never known. I don't know if he's ever, with Grief to Hope, if he's ever heard of it. He does. As last I knew, he still lives in the same town. But yeah, I don't know
Well,
if he knows.
one day the gentleman's going to come across our podcast and he's going to learn it. So
Yes.
you're going to come
Yes.
across the Professor of Perseverance podcast, and he's going to learn firsthand from Hope that she has forgiven him, and she's at peace, and she hopes the best for him. So,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
that's just powerful there, because I before I got in the wheelchair, I wasn't the forgiving type. I held on, I remembered, and I did the things that to get back to people who I thought wronged me, even though I probably started it. But because they
Oh,
retaliated, then I retaliated. Now that I've learned to being in the wheelchair, I've learned to be more patient, more forgiving, more, because it's not worth, like we said earlier, it's not worth the energy to be negative and pissed off and everything all your life. You're not going to get the best out of life by staying down. And so building yourself up, building other people up around you, and moving forward. Not forgiving. I'm not forgetting what's happened. Not
yeah.
forgetting the love, but yeah, definitely forgiveness and pushing forward from there. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And that's amazing. Exactly what you said. Like, we have two choices. We can either be victims or we can be survivors. And I knew that the way that my life was before, and I say I'm Hope version 2.0, because after that phone call, I was a different person. And I'm even better. And I think that you'll find this too. After the events, these traumatic events that you go through, you learn things about yourself that you never knew were there. Being patient, being grateful, I tell people all the time, when you're in traffic jams, the first thing you're doing is, oh my gosh, I'm going to be freaking late. Instead of saying, I hope those people up there that are in that accident are okay. That's the kind of thinking that we get when we go through traumatic events, is that we realize the goodness in everything, and we may not have we'll never have the answers to everything, but we realize there's a path that we have to go as people to make events happen, and how we take in tragedy, and we take in, like, I was just at a funeral this week, and the funeral was the most, they had people come up and give lighthearted stories, and we were laughing in this funeral home, and I kept saying, wow, I hope this happens in my funeral, because I didn't want everybody to be sad and upset. We were cracking up at the stories, but that's what he would have loved. He would have loved us all laughing at these just so funny stories of things he did in the past. And I thought, what an amazing experience to happen at a funeral where you're laughing and you're crying, but it's all good. And gosh, that was powerful. It was a powerful service.
Hey, two things I want to go back to is when the officer said they've been trying to reach you here. What's this about? I don't know. Bull. That officer should have been there talking to you. Should have had a woman there to hug you and talk to you. he knew exactly why he was there, and he didn't want to deal with it. And that is bull. You getting it over a telephone call. He
You
should have
know,
personally talked to you. He should have brought a counselor with him. He could handle it a lot different. Okay.
yeah,
And another thing when I mentioned earlier when you said, we're asking why God, why this happened. Somebody tell me the answer. And the best answer I got one time from this one guy, because two other people, one guy said, I said, try to explain to me why this happened to me to be in the wheelchair. And he says, God wanted to show he had control over me. And I said, wait a minute, I don't want to know a controlling God. I want to know a loving God, not one that's going to throw the lightning bolt at me every time I step out of line. And so
right.
then another one says, you're in a wheelchair because of your sins. I said, what? I said, I don't know all about the Bible, but didn't it say we're all sinners? So why isn't everybody in a wheelchair? And so, yeah, but here's the best answer that was given to me. I went to this youth group. I used to coach a basketball team when I was teaching, and my players invited me to their youth counselor meeting on a Wednesday night. And so I stayed to talk to him, and I asked him why this happened. His best answer ever given, I don't know. You know, one day God's going to reveal to you, but I can't. I don't know. That was the best answer to give. I don't know. Don't fluff it. Don't beat around. Don't come up with your own theory. You're not God. I don't know. So
That's amazing. It is like we do not have answers. We do not. I don't know if we'll ever get the answers, and I've learned that I can ask as many questions as I want. I may not get those answers, but you're right. And I'm doing. It's so funny that you say that because I was on a different podcast, and the gentleman said exactly that. Those cops were so in the wrong for doing that, and I said, I'm sure they didn't draw the short straw and they didn't have to tell me. And they were like, here, give this to this lady and we are out of here. But I'm trying to make a difference. And I'm trying to talk to many, many people to make something change with that. And I never even thought about it. I never, I just assumed that's the way it was. And, but when you hear a knock at your door, the worst, you think the worst. So my thought was, they didn't tell me anything, so there can't be anything bad, right?
that's
They would
right.
have told me, right? And so when I called and got that Greene County coroner, I was like, wait a minute, why didn't they tell me? Why did And so I was not prepared for that answer. And so, absolutely, you bring a great point, and I'm trying to do my best to make sure that no other mother has to go through that again. So
Amen.
it's
Amen.
incredible. It's incredible. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
love that answer. I don't know. Wouldn't that be nice if we did that on a regular? Like, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's it. And like I said, the other two give me that garbage, and I'm going, hey, because you sin, you're in a wheelchair. Why isn't everybody in a wheelchair?
I know.
So,
We would all, yes, yes,
so
every single one of
yeah.
us.
So, but then the last thing I wanted to mention here, you talking about, that the funeral activities was fun, energized, happy, and still had the sadness in there. They well, but they were celebrating life, not celebrating death. They were looking at death. So it reminds me of that movie that came out back in the '80s. And I can't think of the name exactly, but it had Henry Winkler and this other guy, and they're uh, running a funeral parlor, and they said we want to go back and put the fun back in funeral, FUN funeral fun back in the funeral, and it was something like they're running a prostitute through the funeral parlor, a prostitute ring through there. But yeah, they said we're going to put the fun 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 back in the funeral. So so
I love that. And I know exactly the movie, and I couldn't tell you the name of it either. Isn't
I
that
know it was
crazy?
well, I knew it was Henry Winkler was in it with the Fonz.
Yes.
Another guy,
Yes.
yeah. We're gonna put the fun FUN back in the funeral. So that was good. All right,
I
Hope. Hey,
love that.
you've been energized. You got me energized. Starting me off at 8 o'clock this morning with this, and got me fired up and inspired. So I hope other people is coming in. I've seen people been popping in, and so I hope y'all got something out of it. Hope, go ahead and tell us how we can get a hold of you in case someone wants to get to your grief to hope sessions and whatnot from you.
Absolutely. So, Grief to Hope is a 7-week program. It's absolutely free. We do it for 7 weeks. We meet virtually via Zoom, or you can dial in. And we meet, we have a new session starting in September. And we meet for 7 weeks. We have main topics that we talk about, but it's really just open conversation. We just provide support. You can come, whether your grief's been 2 days or 20 years, it doesn't matter. We're all very respectful of opinions and beliefs, and we think that it's, nobody's grief is different than anybody else's. It doesn't matter if you've lost your son or if you've lost grandma who lived an amazing life. All grief's grief, and we don't judge. So it's absolutely free. We meet once a week. Like I said, we meet for 7 consecutive weeks. We take a break, and then we do it all over again. And you can come the first, the third, the fifth, or all of them. It's just a support group. And you can find out all the information on my website. It's www.grief2hopesupport.com. And then I'm on Facebook, Grief to Hope, and Hope Reger, as well as LinkedIn, Hope Reger, Grief to Hope, and then Instagram, Grief to Hope. So I'm all over social media. But if you have any questions or you just want a little bit more about my story, check out my website. My email address, you can email me straight on the website. And we also have newsletters that go out.
And I'll put all that information in the description for anybody that comes back to replay this or on the podcast itself, and they can click on the links and get to you. So, all right, Pope, I appreciate you coming in and everything. Last thing I'm going to ask you now is put you on the spot here a little bit. Again, is we know people are hurting and struggling today. If you can leave us with a powerful message to help them get through today, that'd be awesome.
I think the best message is be patient with yourself and know that inside you there is an incredible amount of strength and courage and hope within all of us. And you just got to keep living strong.
Amen, sister. All right, Pope, thank you for coming in and getting us started today. Anybody else is coming on the replay, be sure to share this out. Again, the message is still the same. It's providing hope and encouragement for people out there. You don't have to go through a death of a son. You don't have to be paralyzed in a wheelchair. But the message of providing encouragement and hope is still the same. So if you know someone is struggling, needs some help, be sure to share this out. If I can do anything to help you with this, be sure to go to my website, which is www.professorofperseverance.com. And cool. Until then, everybody do something. What did I say? I done forgot my last time. Everybody do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.